Începem? Mică atenție. Începem panelul 2 și pentru asta vă rog și vă invit domnul director Bogdan Alecu, colega mea Ana Maria Cazacu și vom începe fără domnul Ștefan Spasov și doamna Lozana Vasileva Vor reveni în câteva minute, au o discuție la nivel înalt și...
La acest seminar vom avea o prezentare online. Îl rugăm pe Alin să ne ajute cu conexiunea pe webinar cu Edina. Hello, can you hear me? Edina, are you online?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, welcome. So welcome to our webinar, and thank you because you accepted to present a project for Smart Village. And Stefan told me that it's a very successful project, so I give you the floor for your presentation.
All right. Sorry, I didn't know I would come up so quickly. So how many you are in the room? Just give me a bit of background, maybe.
Yes, you are online and you can start.
Okay, I will start it now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's working well.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for, even it's a bit late, but thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be able to present you the Smart Rural 21 project. The full name is Preparatory Action for Smart Rural Areas in the 21st Century. But you can see it's a long title, so we preferred actually to shorten it, so it's much simpler to say Smart Rural 21. But now it's got another meaning because we are actually supporting 21 villages through this project. This project is running for 2.5 years and it's supported by DG Agri. So it's a European Commission funded project, and the purpose is to support villages across Europe in developing their smart village strategies and then helping them implementing it. So what I would like to quickly do is to lead you through this graph that I'm showing, which is the infographic of the project. So what I'd like to explain to you is the activities that we are doing with the villages in the different countries, and then how you or anyone else interested in this project could access information, more specific information. So if you start in the middle, sorry, it's jumping by itself, so I might need to keep jumping back, it might be timed. So if you start in the middle, like apply to be one of the 21 villages, it was originally meant to be 17, but now it's actually 21 villages supported by this project. It was an open application, and some of you might have heard about it. At the time, we were trying to promote it widely across Europe. Any village could apply to be part of this project, and in fact, there was a huge interest at the time. We received 734 applications, although it's geographically not that balanced, quite a lot from the southern countries of Spain, Portugal, were received, and Italy. But anyways, it shows a great interest that we received 334 applications, and you can see it must have been a challenge to select 21 among them. We increased the number from 17 to 21. So essentially what we do is that we start to support these villages. If you see that girl up in the upper part of the graph, essentially what we provide through this project is really expert help, so specialist expertise to the project, to the villages, to develop their smart village strategies, and then helping them with very concrete actions to implement some of the actions. Of course, we cannot implement the full strategy within the course of the project. Then if you go towards the left, where there is this guy waving, actually this symbolizes peer-to-peer exchange, because what we are trying to do is that we allow the villages, the participant villages, to visit other villages depending on their thematic interest. Of course, unfortunately, due to COVID, this activity is a bit on hold, but we are really hoping that we can catch up later. However, we will have peer-to-peer exchanges also through the Smart Village Academy, which is the bottom left corner of this screen. This means that villages can exchange with each other. This was meant to be for the 21 villages, but we opened up a bit further. I will explain that process in a minute, like who did we open it up to. And then all this kind of peer-to-peer support, exchange visit, and specialist expert support, we are really hoping that villages can develop their smart village strategies, which is at the bottom of the screen. But then our activities don't stop here. Actually, we are really trying to help them with specialist expertise on certain areas, such as smart agriculture or developing an app or different kind of services to take action. So essentially to implement one or two specific activities from their strategies. Now, if you look at the outer circles, these dark ones, this is maybe the spots where you can also get involved or find out more about the project. So for instance, we will soon upload what's happening in my country pages, where you can see what's happening in your countries in terms of smart villages. We try to summarize policy information and other types of information. Then other villages who are not actually participant villages, so not the 21, can also hopefully visit the 21 villages if COVID allows, so they can apply to visit the participant villages. To find out more about their practices. And then you can see in the bottom the Smart Solutions database. So here we really try to upload very practical solutions, creative ideas, innovative ideas that hopefully everybody or other villages can also implement. And we also have a so-called roadmap tool, which is in the bottom right corner of the screen. So essentially it's about helping villages to find different tools to develop the smart village strategies and then to implement them. So starting from stakeholder engagement to needs analysis, so different kind of methodologies, it's more a methodological approach. And then towards the end, we will have some regional events and conferences. There will be a big final conference, but it's towards 2022. So we still have some time until then. So you might want to check out those links, which are on this slide. So just to give you a very quick snapshot of the situation, so you can see on the screen the selected villages. You can see there is one from Bulgaria and also from Romania. It's Brestovo in Bulgaria and Remetea in Romania. These were selected through a three-stage process by experts nationally, centrally, and then finally with inputs from the European Commission, the final review. We also had 5 pre-selected villages. These are villages that we had to select already when we submitted this proposal as our company for this project or together with other companies. So at that stage, we already had to select 5 villages. So these are the blue dots on the screen. But you can see that the villages are really widely spread across Europe. So it really covers all areas, unfortunately, not all the countries. So where we are in the process now, and maybe to say a few words about that. So firstly, the 5 pre-selected villages straight when we started the project at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, that's when they started their strategy development. So their strategies are already completed. And then the 16 villages which we selected around June, they started to develop their strategies during the summer, and this process is still ongoing. So including the villages in Romania and Bulgaria, these will be ready by the end of this year. And then the strategy implementation just starting with the 5 villages, and again it will start after the completion of the strategy with the 16, sometimes in early next year. You can also you can find out about these villages and follow their journey through that link that I provided. One thing that I wanted to mention, although it's a bit late in the process, we opened up this process because of the huge interest to so-called come-along villages. So villages could sign up for a process which we call come-along, which essentially means that out of their own effort, so not this tailor-made one-to-one support, unfortunately we cannot provide that, but we are trying to provide them with tools through the central toolbox to help to complete their strategies and then start to take action. And they have advantages in terms of applying applying for visiting other villages and so on. It's really, when it comes to visiting villages, you have to apply, so they will get extra scores, but also they will now participate in the Smart Village Academy that we are organizing. So there is a much bigger number, some actually 160 villages signed up from different countries for this process. So it shows great enthusiasm towards smart villages and great interest. So just to conclude, these are some contacts. Our company E40 is coordinating this project. You can see my personal email in case you have any questions. And of course, please find out more through the project's website and also our social media accounts. I don't know if Methody is online. I mean, he's our national expert, and it's Mark Redman and his team in Romania. So you can, of course, contact them as well, because they are directly working with the 2 villages I mentioned, and maybe Methody can say a few words about that in case he's online. That's all from me at this moment.
Edina, can you hear me? We have 2 questions from the online audience. One is, what is the link between your project and the LEADER program, if it is one?
Okay, I mean, you probably know that the Smart Villages concept is really, I mean, the LEADER program is one of the key tools to implement Smart Villages concept. So, for instance, some of the villages we identified already, the pre-selected villages, they were recommended by LEADER legs, and actually the legs are directly supporting them. So for instance, this is the case in Greece and also the case in Finland among the pre-selected villages. So often these villages kind of get animation or technical support also from the LEADER groups. So there is a clear link with LEADER. We are also trying to draw conclusions like how LEADER could further support the emergence of smart villages. So we've got direct links through some of the villages to specific legs, but of course sometimes the villages just applied by themselves. And then we will formulate towards the end of the project policy recommendations, including those on LEADER and the lessons learned.
Excellent, thank you very much. One more question from the online audience. How is financed this program? I think they didn't understand. It is what do you have a European fund for this project?
Yes, as I said, it's an EU-funded project. So essentially, it's a consortium who won it, which is led by our company called E40, but there are other companies, specialist companies, like the Agricultural University of Athens from Greece. There are also Empirica, a German company, IFLS, another one specializing in CAP. We've got an Irish company called eConcept, and a Belgian company, Innovati Estonpunt, which is dealing with advisory services, EIP type of advice, business advice. So we've got these specialist companies, and together with the E40, they form a consortium. So essentially, there is a budget for us to run this project, but quite a large part of this budget is actually going to the village support. I mean, that's the main purpose of the whole thing. So essentially, it finances these expert days that support the individual villages. And of course, from other days, we are kind of running the different tools and organizing the events and so on. So it's a service contract funded by DG Agri.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if we have questions from the room. No, so I think it was perfect, your presentation. Thank you again. And I would like to invite you to continue to join us if you are available. If not...
Yes, for 15 minutes, half an hour, I can be still there. Unfortunately, after that, I need to
Excellent. Leave. So we'll continue. I would like to invite Ms. Lozana Vasileva to join our panel, and Mr. Stefan Spasov, because they just arrived. So I will continue in English because we are waiting from Mr. Polso to Aline. No, not yet. Okay, we hope to have him with us, to succeed to have him. I would like to start with our first question. How can leaders support smart villages? And I will invite Ms. Lozana Vasileva to share her opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Много често срещано е да се казва, че подхода лидер е идеалният инструмент за подкрепа на така нововъзникващата концепция за интелигентните селища на местно ниво. И наистина, ако принципите на лидер са напълно приложени на местно ниво, биха създали подходящи условия за възникването на интелигентните селища. Много местни инициативни групи вече участват в инициативи, които биха могли да бъдат разглеждани като този подход. В България имаме такива местни инициативни групи, като за някои от тях ще представим кратка информация през настоящата конференция. Също представител на България участва и в проекта Smart Village 21, който също ще бъде представен по време на конференцията. Концепцията за интелигентните селища предлага и важна добавена стойност. Внедряването на новите технологии и иновации е благоприятно за всички живеещи и работещи на съответната територия. Интересът към нея се повишава, повишават се посещенията, повишава се потреблението на местни продукти, намалява се процеса на обезлюдяването, дори и заселването на нови хора. Още преди изчистването на визията за интелигентните селища, местните инициативни групи извършваха редица дейности, които подготвяха техните територии за тази концепция. Чрез извършването на различни информационни дейности, чрез обучение за придобиване на умения, за повишаване на административния капацитет, за подобряване на местното самоуправление, чрез въвеждане на стратегии за местно развитие и на иновативни практики, процеси, инвестиции и други. Така че категорично можем да заявим и смятам, че концепцията за интелигентните селища и подхода лидер са от едно семейство и трябва да работят в тясно сътрудничество.
Thank you. Aș vrea să-l invit pe domnul Bogdan Alecu pentru... Sunt convinsă că experiența lui de atâția ani în lider și în tot ce înseamnă dezvoltare rurală poate să aducă valoare adăugată acestei discuții.
Mulțumesc, Alina, pentru cuvintele adresate. Vă salut cu drag pe toți și eu. Mulțumesc de invitație la această conferință. Aș putea face o mică glumă, sunt chiar fericit să fiu aici, deoarece ultima conferință la care am participat a fost undeva pe 10 decembrie anul trecut și oarecum duceam dorul să ne întâlnim cu toții și să discutăm. Da, revenind la subiect și la satele inteligente, aș vrea să fac o mică descriere un pic mai generală, dacă îmi permiteți. Consider că în acest moment suntem la începutul unei noi revoluții sau unei noi ere, comparabilă cu revoluția industrială de la sfârșitul secolului XIX. Mutăm foarte mult online, vorbim de 5G, care pe lângă toate fake news-urile va genera într-adevăr un nou fel de a trăi, un nou fel de a fi pentru toți dintre noi, transmisia de date cu o viteză net superioară celei de acum. Vorbim de agricultură de precizie, vorbim de, numai în domeniul nostru, de agricultură și dezvoltare rurală. Vorbim de drone care măsoară conținutul de nitrați din sol direct din aer, deci vorbim de automatizare. Se va schimba cu totul concepția noastră de a fi și de a lucra. Și dacă, să zicem, atunci când și noi și Bulgaria am aderat în Uniunea Europeană în 2007, aveam un decalaj de modernizare în agricultură mare față de comparativ cu țările din vest, în cazul acestei revoluții digitale, automatice, plecăm cu toții de la start, de la o linie dreaptă, și noi și țările din vest. Iar aici este o mare oportunitate pentru noi de dezvoltare în anii ce vor veni. Satele inteligente sunt un model de dezvoltare rurală, clar, cu siguranță, și dacă îmi permiteți, consider că dintre toate politicile europene prezentate pentru viitoarea perioadă de programare, este politica care se pliază cel mai bine pe abordarea lider, dintre toate. Că vorbim de farm to fork, că vorbim de Green Deal sau așa mai departe, este politica statelor inteligente se pliază cel mai bine pe abordarea lider. De ce? Deoarece soluțiile acestui tip de abordare de state inteligente trebuie customizate. Nu neapărat pentru fiecare sat în parte, dar într-adevăr ele trebuie să fie customizate pentru nevoile cărora se adresează și nu pot fi niște politici europene sau niște politici naționale decât până un anumit punct. Iar punctul acela este destul de sus, restul fiind treaba grupurilor de acțiune locală și mai ales al cetățenilor care vor să trăiască într-un sat inteligent. Cam atâta în deschidere, o să revenim mai încolo când intrăm în amănunte. Mulțumesc!
Stefan, please, I give you... I'm just curious to see what do you think about smart village and leader?
It's working. Yes, smart villages, as Ms. Vasileva said, that is a concept which is very similar to leader. But what means smart village? Only technology, infrastructure, because we have some villages with lack of infrastructure, basic services. So the question is, could such village become a smart village or no? For me, the answer is yes, because we don't have specific requirements, one village to be smart or no. The main thing is for me, the main idea is to attract not only visitors, but to attract people who want to live there. In the place we were our conference in Razvok, in a small village, American company bought all houses, and they will start to make IT village there. But with the, how to say, a fully natural environment. So they will not build new roads. For example, they will not make a big system for water supply, not water supply, but plumbing, and so they will keep the natural way of living there, providing services which are at best quality for the people that will live there regarding their job. So they will provide internet, electricity, and stop. Everything will be natural. So smart village is something that cannot be defined exactly, this is smart village, this is not smart village, but some basic requirements should be met. So village with the extinction of people can be transformed in smart village. It could have some potential, but it depends on the local community. And the the most important thing is the people, in my opinion, to start. If there is nobody there, you cannot artificially create village and oblige people to go there. So everything starts from people. And later on, I will speak a little bit more how we started, because it is very difficult to have, for example, smart village without something from their own produced by their own. So it could be very well supplied by electricity, by everything, but if there is no local community, that is local identity, if you want, if there is no something that is made on this place, I think it is artificial. It will be something artificially. It will be like there are, how to say, in the surroundings of the big cities, there are some districts with very big houses, but this is not smart village. This is where the people with more money buy properties to avoid the traffic and to avoid the city, but this is not smart village. This is small village in the surrounding of big cities, but not smart village. Smart village, in my opinion, is in the country where there is something that is produced there, and they have some conditions that attract other people to come and to develop this place. So we started, just to finish 1 minute, we started in each hour conference we organized, but not only on conferences, but in our meetings with the local groups to make, when we go somewhere in the country, in our meetings we make on every meeting, we collect products from all small producers in that region. First, what we met in the beginning was the hotel said, no, it's forbidden to bring such products. We don't have their quality, if they are safe, etc. But step by step, we try also hotels to make hotels to buy local products. If there is a small hotel in this place where we meet, after our meeting, the hotel to bring at least some products from the producer. And last time we had a meeting in Plovdiv area, is a small hotel with a winery, and they produce everything by themselves. This is very small village, but they have very nice winery, very new, very big brewery in this small village. And a big investor came from Dynamo Moscow, and they built 60 small houses for sportsmen from Dynamo. And they bring mineral water from 10 kilometers. And this village will become very soon smart village, because this winery they has own production of meat, of milk products, they use village producers of vegetables, etc. So very soon there will be, I can say that this will be smart village without participation in the program.
Thank you, Stefan. As conclusion, we can say that smart village is not just digitalization. It's more about people and using local solution and local potential, yes. So if we speak about people, I would like to ask my friend and my colleague Ana. She is from a local action group from Romania. What do you think about this? Because if we speak about leader, we need to be there. So, Ana.
Voi vorbi în română. Ceea ce vreau să spun e că eu cred că cumva noi, galurile, implementăm deja conceptul de Smart Villages atâta timp cât noi avem o finanțare limitată pe care încercăm să o adaptăm cât mai bine nevoilor locale. Adică orice proiect pe care îl propunem are abordarea Smart, fiindcă încercăm cu o valoare limitată a acestuia să rezolvăm probleme care probabil prin programele naționale s-ar rezolva cu finanțări mult mai mari. De aceea sunt de acord cu ceea ce a spus colegul referitor la nu neapărat excluderea digitalizării în ceea ce privește abordarea Smart Villages, ci faptul că și noi putem avea Smart Villages fără partea de digitalizare. Cu toate acestea trebuie să fim realiști și să privim perspectiva mondială sau situația în care ne aflăm în acest moment și să fim realiști, să ne gândim că avem nevoie de aceste instrumente care să ne ajute pe noi la nivel local sau să-i ajute pe oamenii pe care îi reprezentăm. Și tocmai la unul din grupurile de lucru pe care le-am avut recent, o idee pe care ne-a prezentat-o domnul Sălăjan, un proiect, mi s-a părut extraordinar din această perspectivă, era tocmai ideea de întâlnire pe o platformă a agricultorilor și a consultanților în agricultură, încât agricultorii, fermierii își prezentau sau puneau întrebări legate de problemele lor și existau consultanți care răspundeau acelor probleme cu cuvinte cheie, astfel încât să nu se repete întrebările, fiecare să-și poată lua ideea din acest portal. Deci, pornind de la acest exemplu, într-adevăr, avem nevoie de digitalizare și avem nevoie de finanțarea acestor instrumente. Aici poate să intervină lider pe partea de finanțare a instrumentelor, pentru că întâlnim o altă abordare, să spun, în România, aceea în care finanțăm proiecte pe care le considerăm pilot. După ce s-a terminat proiectul, ne întrebăm cine susține proiectul mai departe. Pentru că un astfel de portal, odată înființat, odată implicați consultanții, odată implicată o firmă care să spunem că va susține un astfel de portal, ne punem întrebarea cum se autosusține un astfel de portal după finalizarea finanțării europene. Și aici probabil ar trebui să ne gândim noi la aceste strategii pe care să le integrăm sau să le alăturăm strategiei LEADER, încât să avem o finanțare pe acest tip de acțiuni.
Eu înțeleg că un stat inteligent nu este o comunitate care trebuie să ajungă la un anumit standard impus de digitalizare sau orice alte resurse electronice sau de altă natură. În schimb, gândesc că un stat inteligent devine inteligent în momentul în care își schimbă abordarea și apelează la o abordare inovativă, în a-și valorifica resursele prin alte metode, altele decât le-a practicat până în momentul respectiv. De asta aș vrea să vă întreb, domnule director. Cunosc o ordonanță de urgență într-un draft elaborată de cei de la Ministerul Fondurilor Europene, în care abordau satele inteligente cu anumite finanțări, atât pentru galurile urbane, cât și pentru cele rurale, dar eu consider că ar trebui să fie în curtea MADR-ului, pentru că nu vreau să subestimez sau să duc în derâdere experiența celor de la Ministerul Fondurilor Europene, dar chiar nu au o metodă de abordare a spațiului rural românesc ei. Și de asta v-aș întreba cum se prezintă sau ce viitor se pregătește satul inteligent din punct de vedere al MADR-ului, al autorității de management.
Auzi? Așa cum a spus și domnul ministru mai devreme, încă suntem în perioada în care facem anumite reglaje, împreună și cu colegii de la Ministerul Fondurilor Europene, și nu am ajuns la gradul acela de finețe încât să putem emite strict cine va face acel lucru, cine nu, unde se opresc competențele noastre și încep ale altora sau invers. Cu siguranță, statele inteligente va fi o componentă care va fi abordată și la Ministerul Agriculturii. Dacă cumva se va schimba ceva, veți fi informați din timp, dar v-am zis, încă n-am ajuns la acel grad de detaliu în care să avem o demarcare sau o complementaritate cu alte fonduri. Da, asta vreau și eu să spun, satele inteligente nu este oarecum s-a împământenit nespus conceptul acesta că satele inteligente înseamnă doar digitalizare, pentru că ne legăm oarecum de cuvântul inteligent și poate fi și acest lucru, dar nu neapărat. Într-adevăr, soluțiile pentru ca un sat să devină așa zis inteligent nu pot fi doar de digitalizare exclusiv. Și în sensul acesta am să vă dau exemplul unui grup de acțiune locală din Austria. Un grup de acțiune locală care a realizat un proiect pe actuala perioadă de programare, transformându-se practic într-un sat inteligent, zona respectivă, folosind niște resurse inovative. Respectivul grup de acțiune locală era undeva aproape de Viena și teritoriul lui era traversat de autostrada care ducea înspre Viena. Întrucât pe autostradă de la respectivul sat până în Viena mai erau 20-25 de minute de mers cu mașina, nu prea oprea nimeni prin acel sat, toți se gândeau că ajung în Viena, mănânc acolo, mă opresc acolo. Aceasta era problema lor, pentru că vreau să se dezvolte și ei, atrăgând turiști, atrăgând persoane din afara satului. Și au creat o strategie în așa fel încât cei care se duceau spre Viena să fie atrași să oprească și la ei. Ei comercializau, era ceva local, ulei presat din sâmburi de dovleci. Și au început să pună... Da, merge.
Se potrivește.
Nu prea am voce să cânt, dar pot încerca. Da. Și au început să pună afișe pe autostradă cu mult timp înainte, vizitați ținutul uleiului de dovleac, iar strategia lor era în felul următor. Ca oricine intră în acel sat, îi se crea ca și cum un culoar, în ghilimele, prin sat, să meargă să vadă cum se presează uleiul, să vadă nu știu ce moară veche de 200 de ani în 2 străzi mai încolo. Astfel încât să rămână o oră, era creată toată strategia, acel turist să rămână o oră în sat, pentru că dacă rămânea o oră îi se făcea foame și se ducea la restaurantul doamnei X din respectivul sat și mânca. Și astfel trăia și cel cu ulei de măsline și cel cu moara, făceau afaceri și doamna cu restaurantul. Deci, practic, au creat un circuit inteligent, dezvoltând acele business-uri care erau locale. Acesta poate fi un exemplu de sat inteligent fără digitalizare. Deci se poate și așa. Într-adevăr, rolul lider aici este nu doar de a finanța, este și de a identifica exact ce finanțăm, de a identifica problema și mai mult decât atât se poate duce și în a crea acest flux. Nu este doar de a finanța, și de a urmări. Într-adevăr, rămâne problema în anumite proiecte de genul, ce se va întâmpla când finanțarea se va încheia, când proiectul va fi implementat total, cine va continua mai departe, pentru că există acest risc.
Bogdan, mulțumim tare mult. Oare poți să ne dai un exemplu și din România?
Da, un mic exemplu mie mi-a plăcut foarte mult, pentru că un alt concept al statului inteligent este să ajuți respectiva comunitate, să ajuți respectivul sat, dar proiectul sau ajutorul, suportul acela să nu fie exclusiv. El trebuie să fie destinat și celor din exteriorul acelui sat. Un proiect interesant, mi-a plăcut, așa am dat de el.
Să te pun în dificultate.
Nu, era făcut de un ONG, ceva pe natură, pe faună și ce au făcut? Întrucât trebuie să recunosc că și copiii mei, locuind în București, nu prea văd animale decât la televizor. Și e o problemă a orășenilor, pentru că, spre deosebire de noi care am trăit la țară, mulți au impresia că vaca e mov, știți de unde. Și făcuseră un proiect în care un cuib de barză i-au montat o cameră de luat vedere. Și acea barză era filmată și pusă online tot timpul. Și, practic, intrai pe un site și vedeai o barză care făcea ce fac orice barză. Stătea în cuib cu pui și așa mai departe. Am fost foarte surprins de numărul celor care erau online și urmăreau acea barză dintr-un sat din Ardeal. Era de numărul miilor. Se uitau la o barză. Și mă gândesc că unii din curiozitate, ca și mine, alții din curiozitatea de a vedea o barză și cum se comportă în mediul ei natural și așa mai departe. Mi s-a părut un model și, bun, acum cum poate ajuta satul, respectiv că este filmat o barză. Poate stimula turismul, nu știu. Până la urmă, proiectul nu era făcut pentru... Dar un astfel de model, și sunt locuri frumoase, cu siguranță și în Bulgaria și în România, ascunse oarecum de turismul de masă, pe care nu le știm și poate unii dintre noi am vrea să le descoperim și poate fi și acesta un model de dezvoltare inteligentă.
Mulțumim tare mult. Eu recunosc că îmi doresc să găsim un echilibru între a urmări barza online și a merge în zonele rurale, a ieși online. Trebuie să-mi cer scuze, avem o intervenție de la Bruxelles, este o prezentare din partea NRD, domnul Paul Soto. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Yes, I can.
Thank you and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure. I'm sorry I couldn't be there physically.
You know, now it's a wartime, so it's an excellent that we can have you online and you have the floor for your presentation.
Okay, can I share my presentation?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Let's see if that works. Can you see it?
Excellent, it's working.
Yeah. Hang on.
I think.
Okay, I just want to. Okay. Hang on. I can't see how to. Hold on a sec. How to change it. All right, okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. Sorry, I had some emergencies with my dog, who got very sick, and I had to take him off to the vet. So I've only just managed to get back in time for the panel. I'm going to give you a very brief presentation about the lessons that came out of the thematic group on smart villages, looking particularly at the role that leader can play in the whole process. The thematic group met over 3 years, and it was a very creative group and one of the most enjoyable bits of work I've done, because there's so much interest both from policymakers and from people on the ground, and this is a real something that's really gaining momentum. So straight into it. Let's just start with the definition, which there's been an awful lot of discussion about. The definition that came out of the first pilot project was an inclusive definition, deliberately. There was a lot of discussion about that because people wanted to have clear demarcation between what were smart villages and what were not smart villages. But it was also the case that the context in Bulgaria is very different to the context in Ireland, and the context in Spain is very different to that in Sweden. So it was very difficult to come up with a definition that was absolutely right for everybody, and also a definition that allowed for innovation, which by definition is very difficult to define ex ante. So the definition was basically, I'll just read the first line, but it said that smart villages are communities in rural areas that use innovative solutions to improve their resilience, which is very important today after COVID, building on local strengths and opportunities. So that's very broad. It said that digital solutions are very important, but they're not a precondition. They're not the only thing. The essence was to find policies that really empower local inhabitants to take action. And I stress action, to empower them to take action, not to write strategies or to write documents or to these kind of things, but actually to put in place action in response to some of the major challenges and opportunities they face. So next slide. And just to say, there's growing momentum on at a local level. This is a bit old, out of date now. I see Adina is in the audience, so she'll probably have a lot more evidence and stories about that. But there are lots of examples happening on the ground. The thing is that not many of these examples, which fit that definition, call themselves smart villages, and but that's a bit like the fact that we never used the word circular economy until quite recently. So these terms are emerging and they respond to a lot of things that are actually already happening. And then there are a whole load of policies that are being in place. There's a menu of interventions in the FRD and the ESF and the ERDF, but there is no one single program or policy, which often people find very difficult. Next one. So some key messages about smart villages. Firstly, there's no one model. Digital is an enabling factor. It's not the aim. It's a tool, so social innovation is equally important. I think one of the central things that comes through from the definition is that it's demand driven. It's driven by local people. It's not something that is imposed. You don't, from the government or from the EU, suddenly create loads of smart villages. It has to be people that do it. And that it starts small. It can be very small, in a very small village, but it builds up through cooperation. So there's no definition of the type of area either. So it can start in a very small village, but often it involves groups of villages cooperating together on a common issue, like, for example, renewable energy. So because you have to have scale to deal with some of the things that smart villages are dealing with. I think a very important point and very relevant for today's discussion is that it's not a mini LEADER. LEADER produces a strategy for dealing with all the key problems facing an area. The smart villages can focus on a particular important topic. It doesn't have to deal with everything at once. It's not a multi-level and multi-annual strategy for an area. It's meant to be a flexible tool to support people to take action around the key things that they're affected by. And it's in some ways it's different because it's narrower than LEADER, or it can be narrower than LEADER. But in other ways, it's bigger because the idea is that you don't try to do everything. That smart villages should be trying to create the conditions for bigger investments. Okay, and that's where LEADER can come in. LEADER can play a key role, particularly in the early stages of creating the conditions. One of the important messages was not to duplicate, not to try and create another universe of organizations on the ground, of names, of places that basically just confuse stakeholders and people who are trying to do projects. So don't duplicate what is already there. Don't duplicate the structures. Improve what exists. And in the essence, it is that it's fast and flexible support, so it can vary and needs to be adapted to your conditions in Bulgaria for innovative action, not words. And that relates to some of the big things that are being talked about now. We're in the middle of the major investments for the recovery and resilience plans. You've all heard about the Green Deal. You've all heard about the digital strategy. There are now big discussions going on about the need to not to recreate the same system that we've had up to now, but to actually enable a transition from declining jobs, poor services, digital divide, to digital transformation, low carbon economy, service innovation, new value chains in the bioeconomy and other urban-rural cooperation. So the smart villages is all about enabling communities, local communities, to actually benefit from and contribute to this kind of transition. You cannot do everything bottom up. You have to do a lot of things top down. We need big investments. But this is in order to enable communities to benefit from that, to define what their needs are, and to ensure the investments meet those needs. This is an example. It's one of the lighthouse examples that we've mentioned a lot. The interesting thing about this is that it's a village in France, in Burgundy, where they have worked on digital transition for the last 20 years. And they have a series of very interesting applications and things in place. But they've always seen the digital as a tool. And the main thing is that they've involved the local people in trying to imagine what they need into what housing could be in rural areas, what health could be, what education could be, what mobility could be in the future of rural areas. So at a very local level, imagining what the future could bring, and then using digital technologies to actually design solutions to try and put those into practice. So to LEADER. This is a statement by the Commission that was made at the thematic group, and they said that LEADER has it all for being one of the main vehicles for driving smart villages. So LEADER could be the engine, if you like, on the train that is pulling along and facilitating a whole load of actions around smart villages. But, and it's a big but, certain conditions have to be in place. So the key features of LEADER have to be present. The 7 principles must be there and working well. And as the Commission said, to play its full potential, LEADER needs to be complemented by an enabling environment of larger scale investments. So it's not thinking that you can do everything with LEADER. LEADER can create the conditions, but those conditions then must be linked to the other investment measures and bigger scale regulatory issues to ensure that what LEADER does brings in further investment. So next one. And that's the point, the big point, because basically the survey that we did in the contact point showed that basically all the LEADER principles are not being applied across Europe. Particularly look at those points down at the bottom of this graph. In the best member states, 43, nearly half of LEADER groups say that bureaucracy prevents the implementation of the LEADER principles. But in the worst member states, it's all of them. And importantly for smart villages, lags say that in the best member states, they can really lose LEADER to support innovation and therefore smart villages. But in the worst, only about 11% can. So the differences across the EU are absolutely enormous, and that's one of the first things that needs to be corrected. So what we see then is that LEADER is working well in a series of basic rural development fields. Mainly traditional ones, often are based around food businesses, local products, local tourism, these kind of investments. It doesn't intervene so strongly in agriculture because there are other programs to do that. And it has problems in innovating in many of the fields that I showed in the previous slide. Sorry, this one. So if you look at what Lorms was doing, they're looking at issues like health, education, mobility, connectivity. These are highly regulated sectors, heavy public involvement, often big companies involved. This is complicated for involvement at a local level. Yet these are the things that are really affecting what is happening. So what we see is that the operational groups supported by EIP Agri have set up a very, very good system of innovation that supports farmers to innovate right along the food chain. But there isn't a similar system of innovative support to support local people to innovate in many of the fields that are required in smart villages. For example, renewable energy, for example, digitalization, so on and so on and so on. So this is a gap, and this is what the new programs have to try to put into place. Going back to LEADER, if you want to create the conditions for a project in, say, renewable energy or digital connectivity and so on, you often need to follow a cycle which starts with an idea and then involves a whole series of steps, training, feasibility studies, research, pilots, small-scale investments, so on, until you get to a project that is really viable. And that's where LEADER has, if it's working well, has tremendous flexibility. Then you can pull in other kind of activities, other kind of investments and other kinds of measures. Yeah, what you can see is that in a local development strategy, you could have a local development strategy dealing with some of these key issues like low carbon, circular economy, digital transition, service innovation, and so on, and providing this menu of measures which created the conditions for these ideas coming from the community to really come to fruition. And this is an example from Germany of how this worked. This was a leader group. They worked, I think, for this on 2 or 3 years. They basically did a call for villages who wanted to set up renewable energy initiatives. They basically invested in all the getting people together, the training, the viability studies, the technical studies. They got the farmers together with the villages. The farmers created a cooperative, and the villages they had a local heating system. Basically, what you see is that LEADER put in 200,000 euros of its own budget to do those sorts of things, and then levered in 2.5 million euros from other funds, and that is the kind of idea behind smart villages. So, success factors for effective leader involvement in these strategies. LEADER needs to have the support that have sufficient resources for bringing people to, so in that example, it was 2 years of work to get people together, to work with the farmers, to do that. You need to have the resources to have people to do that. You need to have better access to knowledge. And there's a lot of discussion about knowledge brokers, about funding knowledge brokers, about national rural networks providing knowledge brokers, or other organizations providing knowledge brokers. But the knowledge you need for dealing with renewable energy or with digitalization or with innovations in health is completely different to what LEADER has been doing in most cases up to now. And this needs new sources of knowledge. So getting access and funding the access to that knowledge is something that LEADER can do. Faster and more flexible finance, so the use of simplified cost options, the use of all sorts of different measures for making the finance faster, more flexible, and more needs orientated. Better alignment with investment measures. So if something is shown to be a success as a smart village strategy. There should be a recognition in the criteria for selection for the investment measures. So a link between the investment measures and what is happening on the ground to make sure that people don't spend 3 years working on something and building up a project and then it's left high and dry and nothing happens. And then stronger and more flexible cooperation. LEADER does a lot of cooperation, but everybody who does LEADER knows how complicated it is because of the different regulations in different member states. So cooperation needs to be made an awful lot more flexible and specific and allow the involvement of different types of actors than it has done to now. So this is happening now. In the thematic group, what we did was to work with member states going through how they are designing their CAP strategic plans at the moment. You will see on our website a series of links to examples. We had 2 strong examples. One was in Finland, the other one in Poland. Looking at how they were picking up, identifying the needs that smart villages might have in their SWOT analysis, translating that and prioritizing the needs, making sure those needs are high up. Usually they're using specific, their programming in specific objective 8 for vibrant rural areas. And then it's really important to look at what you already have, look at your leader programs, look at your operational groups, look at how you're using not just EFRD, but how you're using ERDF, how you're using ESF, and actually work out where the gaps are and where this smart villages, where you need to adapt the interventions for smart villages to really make a difference. And so it's then integrated packages of policy interventions. I'm coming to the end. TG recommendations for leader. This came out of the thematic group, and it's in our briefing as well. A more flexible package of leader support, broadening the scope of leader intervention. So allow leader to deal with some of these things which are not conventional. Health, for example. I don't know whether in Bulgaria you deal with health, but usually in many places it's not a leader priority, but it is now with COVID. So better alignment of leader with other policies and the use of indicators and metrics that reflect smart villages. So this is all in our brief, and I think this is the last slide. So the next steps we suggested, I think it seems to me that by this this meeting you're starting to do this, but it's putting together everybody in the whole delivery chain. What we find in many places is that lags talk to themselves and complain about the managing authorities, and then managing authorities talk to themselves and they complain about the lags, and everybody complains about the auditors, and so on. And we really need to bring this whole thing together and start jointly, second point, exploring solutions. Jointly explore, I don't have a lot of knowledge of how LEADER is organized in Bulgaria, but it's different in every place. So how can you best fit it into the your lag strategies? What do you do through LEADER? What can you do in another action that is often complementary to LEADER, but not necessarily in the LDS? Maybe the lag people manage it, but it's not necessarily part of the LDS. Co-design the wider Smart Villages support framework. So don't just stay with LEADER, but look at LEADER and the links. And I think it's very important to clarify the role of the national rural networks, because they can have a central role in ensuring this, this integration and coordination and making things all work together. And I think that is my last slide. So this is just sources of information that you can find on our website, so do go there. So thank you very much. That was it. So I will come out of that.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We would like to invite to Aline. Paul, can you hear me? You are still with us?
Yes, I can.
Yes, okay.
You can. And you heard me. I was worried that you couldn't hear me. So.
Okay. So I would like to invite you to continue to stay with us if it's possible for you.
Yeah, I will. I'll try and stay as long as possible.
So because in your presentation, you spoke about take action, and I would like to ask Stefan, how we will take action, because it's the moment we are preparing for the next period, and what we should do to take action.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for the very interesting presentation. It was really, for me was very interesting, yes. And how to take action, we have to manage the situation in the different countries. Just to remind to Paul also that we are now in Romania. So both countries, but Bulgaria and Romania, have similarities in leader and rural areas. So I think the presentation is addressed very well for both countries. What I want just to add before, I will suggest everybody to say his ideas how to take actions, because for me, in my opinion, smart villages, if a village doesn't become smart village, it will disappear in the not very near future, but not, I think, within 10-15 years, the villages that are not smart enough to attract people or to keep the population there, they will disappear. So this is the way of development of those villages, small villages in rural areas. We have already a problem with the depopulation of a lot of villages, and very small number of so-called smart villages. I don't know if we have smart village in the full meaning of the word, but we have some villages that are now on the way to become smart, I hope. But because I want to make a link with what the minister said in the previous panel about the food and from the farm to fork. In 2017, we had, for me, one of the most important presentations in Pravets. We had a conference, we were there, international, and we had a professor from our Genomic Institute who made a presentation about the future of the mankind, let's say, concerning food, health, and GMO and biofood. Something like smart villages was presented at that time, and the main focus was that because Paul also mentioned health here, it was mentioned that the food that was produced in a particular village or a small town or whatever, wherever, this food has not only nutritional value, but the food has also value for the health. So it's beneficial for the health, but you have to eat it on this place where it's produced. So this transportation of food from South America to Europe and vice versa, this is only food that we take to not to feel hungry, but is not give balance to the body and to the health. So having in mind this, we are very not very advanced in this promotion of the benefit for not only for the as a taste, but also of food for as it's because of its taste, but also benefit for the health, which is very important. The word health is becoming more and more important because a lot of people are now depending on the healthcare system, and this system is in some countries is very exhausted of funds due to such problems. So the smart villages, the easiest way, as we discussed, we need is not obligatory to have technical capacity, but it is good to have it. But we need innovative communities, open-minded with ideas how to keep their villages to exist and to grow. And in our countries, very similar countries regarding the agriculture and rural areas, one of the main things is the production of unique food and promotion of unique products that are produced on the area. The actions to finish, the actions how to be done, I think the actions are already taken with the implementation of leader. Step by step, you have a lot of action groups in this period, and you covered the majority of the territory in Romania. We are following your steps for the next period. We also will have larger coverage of the territory with local action groups, and give this job to the local action groups. I think step by step we will have smart villages existing very soon.
Stefan, you are following our steps when we are discussing about having more lax and territory involved. I hope we will find your steps about multi-fund. So we hope we will have a process.
Of course.
Domnule Paul Soto, am o întrebare din partea galurilor din România. Viziunea, conceptul de stat inteligent, adjectivul inteligent impunând ceva rece. Există doar o abordare pragmatică rece sau și una bazată pe empatie? Pentru că în prezentarea dumneavoastră invocați o uniune a oamenilor și a energiei dintre ei.
I don't have translation, so I don't know what that was.
Paul, it's difficult to translate. I'm sorry.
Okay. Don't worry. It's okay.
No, I will do
Somebody else
it.
can
Just I need... you have, our technical staff said that you have a button in the lower place of the Zoom where you can choose English.
Okay.
Okay, it's working. He will put it on.
Oh, okay. I've got it. Okay. Very clever.
Bun.
Very smart.
Repet întrebarea galilor din România. Abordarea satului inteligent. Însuși, adjectivul inteligent înseamnă ceva rece. Abordarea este una pragmatică, rece, sau una empatică, pentru că în prezentarea dumneavoastră invocați uniunea dintre oameni și energia lor.
Right, that's an interesting question because the word smart, you're right, it is a bit cold. And it often means people who are quick, not necessarily, it's quite different in some senses it can be not the same as intelligent and quite different to wise, for example. Some people really don't like the word smart, and sometimes it's because in some places it's only associated with digital. So because smart cities is very much just about smart cities, about digital cities, a lot of people reject it because of that. And a lot of particularly people on the environmental side of things. Your question, yes, we have been pragmatic because there's a huge movement around smart. There are smart cities. There are also smart specialization strategies in cohesion policy, and we have chosen to interpret this in a broad way and adapt it to a rural context, and very much include empathy, the human side of things, social innovation, and all those things. All those things you'll see are the things that came out of the work on the thematic group, and all the work on smart villages have stressed that it's not just about cold technology. So it's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I will come back to Bogdan to ask how we'll take action in the next years. Ce vom face să luăm... Paul prezenta, spunea că sunt importanți oamenii și să avem acțiuni, să începem. Cum crezi tu că putem să începem sprijinirea acestui proces în România ca să fie mai eficient în următorii ani?
Okay, I will speak in English. Well, I think, like Paul said in his presentation, that the local action groups have a huge role here in implementing the smart village concept. The main goal is that in order to start the elements at local level, at village level, people there need the information, information given correctly and at time. And this is something that the LAGs can do in the next, as the first step in implementing smart villages, is to inform the community about this type of approach, to give them all the elements in order to be involved in future projects like that. And yes, the information of the community is the first step. The second one is, after the community is decided to implement a project regarding smart villages, is to guide them, to offer them not only the financial part from leader, but also, like Paul said in his presentation, other types of financial support for implementing the project in smart villages from other funds, European or national, available at that time there. And then to guide, to inform them, to guide them, and then to help them implement the project. I think this is our important steps in order to have good projects and to be understandable. Because in this type of support, I don't think that the LAG is the main actor. The LAG is a vehicle. It's like a locomotive who support the community to guide them to become a smart village. And that's why I see one threat, one important threat here, because in all the LAGs, there are more villages, not just one. And the competition between them to become smart villages, I see it as a threat. Because the solutions for every village must be customized for that village. Maybe a digital solution is better in one village, but not in other. Maybe the example that Paul gives with that village in Germany with the common heating system, maybe is not a better solution for mountain villages where the houses are at long distance from one another. It's not a solution there. Maybe there is a digital one. All right. So a threat is not to become a fight for who is first smart village or who is the beautiful smart village between the villages within the territory that it's the legs territory.
Thank you, Bogdan. Și pentru că vorbim despre nevoi locale și vorbim despre oameni, aș vrea să o întreb pe Ana ce ar avea nevoie galurile ca să poată să contribuie mai mult la această metodă.
Exact la asta mă gândeam, pentru că mi-am notat pe caiet din prezentarea domnului Soto, trebuie să se lămurească la nivel administrativ abordarea lider versus state inteligente. Adică noi ca galuri ce putem să facem este să primim această informație, după care să ne gândim acțiunile. Și așa cum am zis tot timpul, din punctul meu de vedere, succesul acțiunilor unui gal ține mult de puterea exemplului. Adică activitățile noastre de animare sunt foarte importante, dar din implementarea SDL-ului, pentru mine e relevant faptul că mult mai mulți solicitanți au venit după ce au văzut investiția vecinului. De aceea cred că aici rolul nostru va trebui să fie cel de implementare, să zicem, a unui proiect pilot, ceea ce am încercat la un moment dat prin acțiunea noastră de cooperare, și cred că acel proiect pilot va putea multiplica esența Smart Villages la nivelul întregului teritoriu. E foarte adevărat că nevoile, chiar la nivelul teritoriilor noastre, sunt diferite de la sat la sat. Adică avem sate cu niveluri de dezvoltare total diferite, dar cred că numai prezentarea unor concepte și a unor idei va genera idei inovatoare pentru fiecare entitate în parte. Și ceea ce trebuie să mai ținem noi cont este că ar fi bine să vorbim cu o susținere financiară în spate. Tot timpul am spus că a vorbi despre strategii fără să ai sursa de finanțare, în momentul ăsta nu e relevant. Adică noi, dacă vrem să vorbim despre conceptul de Smart Villages la nivelul teritoriilor noastre, trebuie să venim și cu soluțiile de finanțare. Adică trebuie să le spunem ceea ce spunea domnul Soto, 200.000 din LEADER și 2,5 milioane din alte fonduri. Adică cumva la nivelul acela trebuie să ajungem și noi să promovăm conceptul încât să aibă relevanță pentru teritoriile noastre.
Mulțumesc, Ana. Aș vrea să o rog și pe doamna Lozana Vasileva să ne împărtășească viziunea ei referitor la această întrebare, cum ar putea galurile ce au nevoie galurile ca să poată să contribuie la dezvoltarea acestui concept.
На първо място бих искала да кажа, че има нужда именно от информация и обучение. Необходимо е местните инициативни групи да разполагат с тази информация и познавайки така идеята за концепцията за интелигентни селища, те са достатъчно инициативни, енергични и биха могли да приложат концепцията на практика. И за това именно е необходимо сътрудничеството, обмяната на опита, работа в мрежа. И тук е мястото и да дадем една идея, например, съвместно България и Румъния да разработим, например, общ проект за добър пример за създаването на такива интелигентни селища между двете страни.
Thank you for the ideas. We'll hope to try to realize. Din păcate, aș vrea să continuăm. Sunt foarte multe întrebări pe online și noi mai avem multe întrebări, dar timpul nu ne permite. Am ajuns la final, chiar dacă am vrea să mai adresăm câteva gânduri. Aș vrea să întreb dacă sunt întrebări sau sugestii sau dacă cei din sală vor să ne spună ceva.
Bună seara! Bercea mă numesc, sunt reprezentantul galului Razim din Tulcea. Și dacă mi-aduc aminte, cam acum un an de zile începeam primele discuții în galuri despre ceea ce înseamnă un stat inteligent și ce ne dorim noi să facem ca să devină și statele noastre inteligente. Dacă se poate spune așa, am avut noroc, în ghilimele, poate spus. A venit o pandemie peste noi care ne-a forțat să vedem un pic altfel statele inteligente. Deja au început să devină state inteligente. Deci, într-un an de zile, putem spune că s-au schimbat destul de multe în statele noastre. Numai dacă ne gândim la adeverința Apia, unde stăteau la coadă mii de oameni, acum s-au dat toate online, au fost făcute. La fel, copiii din sate au avantajul de a primi tablete, de a se conecta, de a face altfel lecțiile. Cum spuneam mai devreme, cum spuneau colegii noștri, au început să apară și intermedieri între producători și comercianți în ceea ce privește producția agricolă. Deci încet, încet încep să se lege lucrurile într-un sat, doar că ele nu sunt făcute integrat, sunt pe părți. Avantajul pe care îl avem noi galurile este că noi putem face această intermediere între toți actorii sociali, toți actorii economici dintr-o anumită zonă. Cred că, în primul rând, pentru galuri, ar fi bine să reușim să creăm o platformă prin care să facem atât de activitățile noastre de animare, cât mai ales de consultare a populației locale. Și a fi un intermediar între cetățeni, între producători, între toate ONG-urile din teritoriul nostru și autorități în ceea ce privește o mai bună conexiune și să realizăm această platformă locală. Deci fiecare gal să reușească să realizeze o platformă locală prin care să intermedieze aceste legăturile între cetățeni și administrații, cât și între diversi actori economici. Cred că acest lucru îl putem realiza. În viitoarea strategie ne putem prinde fiecare activități în acest domeniu și să finanțăm astfel de activități în cadrul unei măsuri poate specifice, fostei măsuri de infrastructură, pe care să o prinde ca o infrastructură digitală în teritoriul gal. Da, vă mulțumesc și sperăm că vom avea succes în acest proiect.
Mulțumim și noi. În încheiere aș vrea să ne adresați o succintă expresie a tot ce a însemnat acest panel.
So we want to invite each of you to say a sentence very quickly. What about it was this panel? So as conclusion, each of you, if you can say a sentence about Smart Village. Stefan, if you can start.
Yes, thank you. I will say about the whole event, if I may now, because it was separated to 3 panels: Smart Village, technologies, digitalization, and territorial approaches. But everything, all the panels are so closely connected that interfere with each other. So in the next day, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, there will be very interesting presentations. They are located in another panels, but very, very connected with the smart villages. We have from our local group, Digital Luck is a project, and we have one project from Italy, which is for global connection of local action groups and exactly for smart villages, appropriate for smart villages. And we have also one project from Spain, which is also very related to the issue. So from this panel, for me, I can, if I say in very brief words, this is for us a very new issue, but very important for the development of the small villages. As I said, in my opinion, they should be all smart in order to survive. So we have to put our efforts to support the initiatives in these small villages.
Bogdan?
Well, this panel was smart and close to people. But I think the smart villages approach, it is right now at the beginning. I think that it's going to be a very important policy, a European policy, in the years to come. A great tool for the communities to develop. And we need a lot to discuss about it in the future.
Miss Лазара Василева.
Аз също смятам, че темите, които засегнахме днес, както връзката между лидер и темата от фермата до трапезата, така и интелигентните селища, са така едно предизвикателство за новата обща селскостопанска политика и трябва да работим в тази посока. Мога да обобщя, че многофондовото финансиране на подхода лидер има своите вече доказани предимства. Ние имаме в България опит с този подход и той позволява многоспектърното развитие на териториите, както развитие на икономиката, така и на социалната сфера, подобряване условията на живот, опазване на околната среда и предизвикателството, което е пред нас, е прилагането на това многофондово подпомагане през новия програмен период, когато ще се прилагат унифицирани правила и ще се прилагат по водещия фонд, такъв какъвто ние в България сме избрали за водещ фонд да бъде земеделския фонд. Така че наистина това е много голямо предизвикателство, с което предстои да се борим. Благодаря.
Ana?
Eu ca galistă nu pot să spun decât let's be smart și să facem traducerea corectă a Smart Villages în sate deștepte, adică să transformăm satele noastre în sate deștepte. Sunt convinsă că, așa cum zicea și colegul de la Razim, deja avem idei deștepte la noi în comunitate, probabil nu le conștientizăm sau dacă noi le conștientizăm, nu le conștientizează cei care le implementează. Avem proiecte care implică economie circulară, dar la fel noi nu știm să le prezentăm ca și economie circulară, ci sunt niște activități de diversificare a activității agricole. Deci ceea ce ne lipsește este să devenim sate deștepte.
Paul, for the conclusion, what will you want to tell us?
Yeah, so I've got an echo on this. I really like the comment that Bogdan said about it's not an option. The villages that you have to become smart. It's the only way to survive. I really like the comments being made about the fact that you're already doing it, and that in response to the COVID crisis you see more of it, and that maybe you don't call it smart, but there are already those responses there, and it's a question of bringing them together. I really don't think you need to have competition between villages. It's a question of cooperation. So when there are common issues, it's not one against the other one, but cooperation. And then the other thing I thought was really important was this whole question of pilots and platforms. Yes, really go for that, because if you want to get the information across, there's nothing better than showcasing the good examples that you already have.
Thank you, Paul.
Înainte de a încheia, vreau să aduc mulțumire pentru foarte mulți ani de prietenie, dar mai mult pentru contribuția liderilor în Balcan. Te rog să primești asta de la noi, Ștefan.
Thank you very much.
Și sper în continuare să ne fie aproape și să ținem umăr la umăr în întreaga dezvoltare a liderului în Balcan. Mulțumesc!
Thank you very much. This is very precious. Thank you.
Există suport acolo și nu putem să... La ora 20 este masa oferită de domnul ministru Adrian Oroș și v-aș ruga să nu întârziem și să nu... Mulțumesc!